Dear students, today we are going to deal about a very broad topic that is entitled Making Difference in Writing, reviewing, structuring, interpreting skills for research in social sciences and literature. So, the main topic is making difference in writing. So, when you are going to innovatively present your research writing, you have to make a difference and you have to appeal the mind of the editors. And therefore, we have phrased the title as Making Difference in Writing. So, the subtopic is about reviewing. So, the previous writings of scholars and pioneers have to be reviewed, and there has to be a definite structure of your writing so that a kind of consistency is being maintained in your writing. And apart from that, you have to also have a command on interpretation based on interdisciplinary ideas and skills, and therefore this broad topic has been dealt in such a way to handle three important features: reviewing, structuring, and interpreting. As an introductory part, let us understand the research background in India. In late 1990s and early 2000, we had only 3000 PhDs being produced in Indian universities. University teaching or college teaching required an eligibility through a national level exam called UGC NET or a state level exam called SLET at that time, state level eligibility test. So, this NET and SET or SLET exam was treated as a higher qualification than that of a PhD or a doctoral degree. In 2005, National Knowledge Commission it made its observations and said that for a vast country like India, just producing 3000 PhDs is not sufficient, and it compared Indian PhDs with PhDs of United States of America, China and UK, and they pointed out that we are lagging far behind them, and therefore they wanted to maintain a special place for doctoral degrees and PhDs, and therefore to encourage PhD thesis writing and doctoral writings, they gave upper qualification standard for doctoral degrees, and therefore through that a minimum standards was introduced for PhD degree, and even eminent institutions like Jawaharlal Nehru University accepted that. Earlier in Jawaharlal Nehru University, a guide can supervise as many students as he likes in matters of PhD. In Manoormaniam Sundarnar University, where I work, they can guide as much as 15 candidates at a time. But these minimum standards fixed a criteria of 8 candidates for a professor and 6 candidates for a associate professor and just 4 candidates for an assistant professor. So, if you want to enter into a career based on higher education, then you have to, on a compulsory basis, indulge in research after the recommendations of the National Knowledge Commission was tabled. And very importantly, we have to explore the background of how research entered into academia, particularly in the field of history. Leopold von Ranke, a German person who lived from 1795 to 1886, he wanted to introduce a grammar for writing history, and therefore he strongly recommended for inductive method based on positive philosophy. Thus, Auguste Comte, who lived between 1798 and 1857, was a contemporary of Leopold von Ranke, whereas Herbert Spencer, who lived between 1820 and 1903, was a junior to them. So, Auguste Comte's introduction of physics, methods of physics into social sciences made a great stride across the world, and even Leopold von Ranke was influenced by that method. Herbert Spencer came with his biological evolutionary method, drawing inferences from the findings of Charles Darwin, and he also brought forth a scientific perspective in the field of social science. Subsequently, Sigmund Freud, who lived between 1856 and 1939, he also brought interpretive methods in the field of social sciences, and social science became very rich in content and method. However, research required a lot of primary work, and it has to be substantiated with views already being captured in previous writings, which are called secondary sources. But to maintain standard at par with Europe or America is a very difficult task, and therefore collecting of primary sources and secondary sources is a very tedious task, and therefore PhD is a formal work, and those who could not do PhDs, they employed ghost writers and did their degree. In an examination, we can assess a person by making him write and correcting his paper. But in the PhD program, we do not know who wrote the original content. If that particular person has informed the person in whose name the PhD is being produced, then the person in whose name PhD is being submitted could very well defend the thesis. And this is the negative part of a PhD writing or a doctoral thesis. And a lot many ghost writers emerged, and there were template methods in which they simply say that 200 words per page into 120 pages is equal to a thesis. So about 25,000 words if somebody has written, then a PhD thesis is completed, and the examining board, both foreign and within the country, are based on the guide's friendship network, academic friendship network, and therefore they easily clear that, and therefore there are a lot of corruption that emerged into the system, and research writing in the 2024-23 period, they reached up to 77,000. But however, only those 3,000 people who were dedicatedly doing their research in early 2000, the same number of serious theses are being produced in the country, because PhD is done without much passion and based on only compulsion. However, even those who are good teachers with MPhil or NET, they are compelled to do research, and only if they complete their PhD thesis, they will have their promotions. And therefore, PhD has become a mandatory criteria for teaching in the fields of higher education. So, what one could suggest is to choose a familiar area and simple topic, and collect secondary sources first widely, and based on that and based on the bibliography references and so on and so forth, we can reach primary data from there also. These days, every single aspect of life has been digitalized. Even archives are being digitalized. From your home, you can access many archival materials. And after making an index of archival materials, you can visit the archives and access the hard copy of the archival material. Once eminent Professor T.J. Pondian, he said that a research was done on the university switchboards. So in the switchboards, the wasp, it enters and makes a hive, and how it arrests spider, and what is the weight of the spider, and what is the precision it is maintaining, and what is the ethical nature of its arresting this spider, so on and so forth, became part of a research of his student. He said similar simple topics traveling between Sharon Mahadevi and Tirunelveli, and what are the problems being encountered by the commuters, and in rationing system, what are the problems we are encountering, and when it wasn't. So simple topics and everyday walk of life based topics you can select and write a thesis on that, and this will be a seminal contribution for the society as well. This simple topic will also inspire a research aptitude within you, and therefore select a simple topic. So let us now explore a few aspects of reviewing. My mentor, Dr. Pavanandi Vembulu, he often recommends to read to find demerits. So you should not read a book believing that whatever has been said in the book is true and it has to be believed uncompromisingly. Not like that. Every book is a hypothesis. So this is what E.H. Carr is saying. So a hypothesis has to be handled for research, and when you complete a research after taking a particular work, for example, I have also written a book entitled Between Water and Fire, aspects of the history of the Paradavar community. So this is a hypothesis. So I will not say that every aspect of Paradavar community has been covered within the work. There will be some errors or some kind of lapses, and a new researcher has to find that, and he has to use my work as a hypothesis, and he has to explore further. So this is very important for a researcher. Apart from this, some of the researchers, they straightly go into the index that has been given in the last few pages. This is a wrong method. First of all, to understand a book, you have to read the introduction. Without reading the introduction, you will not be able to understand what kind of a stand that particular author, historian, sociologist, or any other person for that matter is taking. So read the introduction first and understand the methodology deeply and compare it with your ideological standard. So this is very important. So in India, in the last century, predominant number of scholars came from the Marxist school. So now there are neoliberal scholars. So how far neoliberal methods that are being evolved these days are in an advantageous position to explore new ideas and new concepts that has to be evaluated. So you have to identify the gaps. When you, for example, read ancient Tamil literature, many secondary sources they point to the Thinai system, taking inference from the Tolkapiam. So Tolkapiam introduces Tinai, Kurinji, Mullai, Neidal, Palai, Marudam. These are the Tinais handled by many of the grammatical works like Tolkapiam. But one of the most eminent scholars of ancient Tamil history, by name K. A. Nilakanta Shastri, who uh, started his life from Kalladai Kurichi, he ignores the Thinai concept or theory of Thinai completely. Why he is ignoring that? Because he is writing a South Indian history on the whole, and there are some controversial aspect in that. And to write a textbook on South Indian history or ancient period, he must have thought that handling of Thinai concept is not important. So it is a research gap, however, of K. A. Nilakanta Shastri, and therefore, when you read a book with the nudge to find a research gap, then only you find all kinds of limitations that have been crossed by historians or other writers. If you read the works of pioneers, they must have ignored some of the works. For example, the author of the Hollow Crown, Nicholas Dirks, he says that apart from saying that the South Indian rebellion of Vellore Mutiny is a dress rehearsal for 1857 revolt, Kadirvel and Rajayan has not contributed sufficiently for the enrichment of the historical processes of that period. So this is a major criticism made by a foreign scholar on Indian scholars, and therefore many people tend to ignore the works of Rajayan and Kadirvel. Similarly, foreign scholars, they expect you to find new primary sources. If at all you are doing some research, you cannot completely rely on your pioneers and the primary works they have handled. At least 5 primary sources newly you have to invent, and you have to adopt that for your writing. Thus, reviewing is very important as far as research is concerned. Nextly, let us see what kind of contribution structuring skills will give you. So, to structure your work, form new hypotheses from identified research gap. I am not telling this, E.H. Carr is telling this. Postmodern thinkers like Derrida are maintaining the view that it is very difficult to maintain consistency. So, hypothesis will give you a direction and will enhance your ability to maintain consistency. You have to effectively divide your topic and subtopic, and these topics and subtopics should reflect the main theme of your research and its title. First of all, let me make one thing clear, that a research has to be done in a problematic area, and therefore you have to effectively begin with a very proper and effective statement of the problem. You should be very careful about the style of language. If at all you are going to use a large number of adjectives, then it means that you have already taken a stand with the subject matter and your objectivity has been sacrificed. So, avoid adjectives. Make use of simple active voice while writing your subject in the beginning. So, active voice can be effectively learned through vast reading of political science. Even in newspaper, you come across large many political issues being reported in active voice. That will help you. Apart from that, geography and law, they are also adapting an approach that is based on active voice, and therefore political science is very simple in understanding, and geography contains a lot many facts, and some of the terminology that they employ are very difficult to understand, and similarly law employs a lot of Roman and Greek words. However, this kind of reading will enrich your vocabulary and will definitely contribute for your research, understanding, and dealing of the subject matter. After having a command on political science based writing, you have to next select writings on sociology, and you have to read sufficiently in sociology. So, sociology they try to give matters in mathematical language. They employ lot of terms such as hence, therefore, since, etc. Sociological thinkers have immensely contributed for widening the understanding of other social sciences. So, sociology also has close relationship with anthropology, social anthropology also, and therefore it is very important for everybody. Remember that annals historians like Mark Bloch and Lucien van Faber, they also have had their inspiration from sociologists like Emile Durkheim. So, after broadening your vision through multidisciplinary reading, then only you have to learn that history. History deals about the past, and therefore your sentence should not have future or present tense. Try to present even the latest matters in past tense, because whatever that you have read has come to an end the previous night, and therefore you have to present that in the past tense. That is the work and art of a historian. Do not speak without evidence. So you have to rely on evidence material, not conjecture like people of literature. So active voice starts from political science and it comes into sociology, and it also has a huge influence in historical writings. But when you write philosophy, it is effectively written only in passive voice, and therefore, if you attain the stage of a philosopher or thinker, then you can adopt passive voice type of writing method. Until then, you have to adapt active voice only. These are some of my suggestions for your improvement. Literary geniuses, they have their own style, and they may either resort to political science based writing or literature based or law based writing or even history based writing, and they can mix language styles also and create new forms of writing, and that liberty is not available for other social sciences. So literature people alone has the liberty of combining various writing methods. So uh, we have to understand that we are living in a world of limitations, and we have to follow certain grammar that has been laid by Leopold von Ranke long before. Apart from all these, in conclusion, we have to understand that we have a researcher lobbies and identity. If a huge historian emerges, behind him lobbyists also they come into the forefront and they try to develop their identity. So in our country we had D.D. Kosambi, one of the outstanding historians, and he was not part of the university system or a strict academic circle of social science. His contributions are immense, but he did not develop a racketeering basis or lobbying group. His contributions are original and he is appreciated widely. One has to take people like Didi Kosambi as role model than any other person, because many of the historians, if you carefully look into their work, they, without stating their model, they try to copy the formula of the Westerners. Thus, history writing itself has become a colonial extension. So, this is sadly a very bad development which we have to rethink. In our country, we are still adopting guide like material for reading, particularly students of the undergraduate and postgraduate level. They are using such materials, and all on a sudden, if we are calling them to do research, they will not be able to address the demand that has been placed on them, and therefore avoid such books and see beyond textbooks. So textbooks, they give some rough ideas, but see beyond textbooks and try to explore the scope for translation. So translator has his own identity, and original writing also has a huge identity. So advantage of publishing a book, particularly a original book, will give you an identity among academic circle across the world. So these days Google Books have come, and if your book is available in Google Books, then there will be a wide readership, and there will be a fan following for you, and there will be critics also, that will be very healthy for your future development also. So even Sanjay Subramanian, he is saying that he does not have the liberty to name his book. So to publish a work is a huge challenge, and you have to accept that challenge, and you have to place your scholarship above all these challenges. I had been part of a commission to provide recognition for a PG course in a college. There, all of the faculty members were worried about the plagiarism software while we speak about publication. So, if at all you are writing on your original skill and method, why you have to worry about plagiarism and problems like that? So, independent research has to be carried out, and in India, we have to evolve a large number of schools of thought. We have had Pondicherry School of Thought, Allahabad School of Thought, Aligarh School of Thought, and General Marxist School of Thought, so on and so forth. So, similarly, in South India also, we have to evolve lot many schools of thought, and that is the purpose of a scholar, and also universities have to provide platform for that. With this, I conclude my lecture today. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.